Hey, I'm Nick Hawks, and today we are going to be talking about the Mitutoyo 547-401 digital thickness gauge. This has a 1 micron resolution and is accurate to plus or minus 3 microns. So pretty darn accurate, used for measuring really thin stuff like film, paper, plastic, cloth, whatever. Let's get into it. All right, here it is in the box. I bought mine off of eBay for I think 300 bucks or so from Japan. And this is what it looks like, pretty straightforward. You turn this thing on. The reason it's a digital thickness gauge and not a micrometer is you're not screwing anything down to get it tight because you might over tighten, and especially at the really thin level that we are measuring, you might over tighten it, so this spring keeps it the same tension every single time, so you've got repeatable measurements. You're going to use this for stuff like, I'm going to use it for balloon film. So this stuff right here usually comes in right at about 0.03, so 30 microns. Remember, that's plus or minus 3. And I found different areas on the balloon film. Sometimes they'll measure very differently depending on how close you are to an edge and whether or not it's curled or not. You can also use this for basic stuff. We've got some heat sealing stuff that I've been using here on the different heat sealers. If you wanted to measure my favorite business card, which comes from Dracula, which does energy harvesting, you could measure that and see that it comes in about 8 millimeter. Cloth will come in at 0.25 millimeters. So pretty cool stuff that you can do with this thing. If you get to a point where you've measured a bunch of various items, maybe some lint came off of that cloth, you can either clean the spindle and the anvil. So here's the spindle, this thing going up and down, and this is the anvil. Or you can hit the set button twice. So if you hit it twice, it'll just go right back to 0. And it is pretty darn repeatable. Now, this thing has a bunch of menus in it, and you get to those by long pressing the mode. So once we long press mode, we're in the direction menu. To get into each mode, you press set, and now we can mess around with the mode itself. To get out of it, you just press set again. Right now we're in the tolerance mode, so you can set this so that if it goes over under a specific tolerance, let's say you're measuring these business cards and you want it to be within 1.002 millimeters, you might set the tolerance on the high side to be 1.05 and on the low side to be 1.01 or whatever it is you're doing. We're not going to use that for this, but that's what you use the tolerance for. And this is the resolution. You can set this to either, and depending on the device, 0.001, or you can go to 0.1. Pretty straightforward. The next mode is calibration. We're not going to touch it. If you want to get into it, you can. I'm just going to leave it as it is. And then function lock, again, I'm going to leave that as it is. But if you wanted to get in there and set it to on, you could totally do that. So that's it. To get out of all these, you press the mode button again, and we're back in the measuring side. So what should happen with these really nice measurement machines is they should return to the same measurement every time. You can also, if you're a little bit geeky, buy one of these reference blocks. This is a 1 millimeter reference block, and you can measure it. I found that I just don't have to be totally honest, the kind of patience or interest to be super crazy about all of this stuff. So I get it pretty darn close. You can see there's some alcohol on there. We'll let that dry off, and then we'll measure this thing. What should happen is it should measure out at 1 millimeter, but what I've found is it doesn't always do that, and I thought it was a lot more frustrating than strictly it needed to be. So it should be, that's pretty good, within 0.00, or it's accurate to 0.003 here, so plus or minus 0.003. This should be 1. We are 1 micron beyond where the accuracy is. You might measure this a bunch of times and see if it's any different on different portions of it. Looks like it's the same. Oh, maybe not the same the whole way. Maybe I was on something before. Yep, and so what we want here is we just want everything to be within 0.003 of 1. If for whatever reason we wanted to short or quickly recalibrate this, as I said, we just hit the set button and we're back to 0. So that's how to use this thing. You can get into some of these modes, like this direction mode here. Was actually, this head unit is built for multiple Mitutoyos. So you might want to set the direction to be going, instead of getting bigger, you might want to set it to be going smaller. So instead of being positive, it would be negative. For this unit, the 547-401, it doesn't really matter. And this is probably the Best way to do this is just to leave this sucker alone. So we'll go through all of the, all the modes. And if we hold this thing down, it should take us back to using the thing. That's it for the Mitutoyo 547401. I've got a link down in the description to the full post on how to do all of the stuff I just talked about. Hopefully this is helpful for you. I couldn't find a lot of this stuff on the internet when I started up, so wanted to make it super easy for someone to figure out how to use this thing. Rock and roll.